Alright, so in this one I wanted to talk about H-bracing and building fencing. I put this fence up here. It's 600 feet of fence 15 years ago. It seems like it's just as solid as it ever was. And what we did was we put H-bracing every 80 feet. Before we did the fence, we did a laser level and all that to make sure it was straight. I do recommend laser level, and if you need to, and check your property lines. But basically I want to talk about the H-brace and how it works. So the H-brace allows you to pull and really put some good tension on a fence. So if you just have one post sticking up and you put any kind of fencing material on there and you pull on it, that sucker just tips over. So how can you make some kind of a cheap and easy structure so that you can pull pretty decent on it? And that's this H-brace, and you can make them any size you want, but basically it's these two posts. Let's see if I can do this. Here and here is the other post, and you put those two in, and they can be any distance you want, but you don't really want them. This one's a little wide. You could probably have it another maybe about 3 feet apart, 3-4 feet apart, be about right. And we use railroad ties here. I'm not sure if you want to do that because of the arsenic or the chemicals in the railroad ties, but they also last a long time. So just want to get some good solid wood, some treated wood, whatever you got, heavy duty wood. You put the two posts in, you level them, and then you put the beam in here. Now that could be this height, maybe a little higher. You don't want it at the top. You want it kind of this height, maybe a little bit lower, but that's not a bad height. And you nail that in with some good sized nails. And so that's there. So you have your two beams and your H, and it makes an H. Okay, you're not quite done though. So what gives it the strength is these things. And so what I would do is I would run a nail in here, both sides, and you run some winding. This could be barbed wire, but it's tricky because it gets on your fingers. So if you've got some wire that doesn't have the barbs on it, that's the best. Look at this sucker, it's kind of leaning this way now. That's not great. Anyway, you run it around a few times, and then you put a piece of rebar or some steel in there, and then you wind it. And that pulls the tension horizontally, so that if I try to pull this post this way, this wire's holding it. And you do the same thing on the other side, wind it, tighten it, and then you put the piece of steel in there, and then you knock them and just leave them in there. And so you've got this X pattern of wire holding from the bottom up, so that either way, if you were to pull on this one here, you can see that piece of wire is holding it from going that way. Same thing on the other side. Incredibly strong this way or this way. Not as strong, obviously, this way. It's got some play in there, which is surprising. But I highly recommend those. And then you can pull a real taut fence, like I've done here, for a long way. We put them in every 80 feet. Some people put them in, a lot longer than that. It just depends on what you got going on. So that's your basic H-brace, and helps to put some real strong fencing.